The DPDP Act grants individuals enforceable rights over their personal information, but for organizations holding that data, these rights translate into rigid operational duties. Under the law, the person whose information is being processed is known as the data principal. On the other side of the equation is the data fiduciary, the organization that determines exactly why and how that data is processed. For years, individuals had little say over how their information was used, and no reliable way to correct or delete it. Businesses, meanwhile, lacked any standard process to handle such requests, even if they wanted to. The DPDP Act changes both sides of that dynamic by introducing 5 distinct rights for data principals. When a user exercises one of these rights, the immediate operational challenge for a data fiduciary is locating that specific user's data across sprawling, disconnected backend systems. Once found, the organization must verify the requester's identity and fulfill the request accurately, ensuring they don't inadvertently expose someone else's data in the process. And the entire operational sequence, from the initial request intake all the way to final resolution, must be executed within a strict, legally mandated timeframe. Note that we are breaking down system architecture and compliance frameworks here. This is educational content, not formal legal advice. Ultimately, legal rights that exist only on paper are meaningless without a fully mapped, heavily automated back-end pipeline ready to execute them on command. Chapter 3 of the Act houses 5 distinct rights. In this diagram, we start with the data principle at the center. First is the right to information. Users can demand a clear summary of processed data and third-party identities. This specific right applies to data processed on the basis of consent. Next is the right to correction. Principals can mandate that you fix inaccurate or incomplete records. The data fiduciary has an absolute duty to push those updates. Third is the right to erasure, giving the principal the ability to demand complete deletion of their data. But there's a vital carve-out. Erasure is mandatory unless that data must be kept to satisfy a specific legal obligation. These 3 rights strip organizations of unilateral control. The database is now a shared asset, directly responsive to user commands. Fourth is the right to grievance redressal. Organizations are required to provide a readily available internal channel for resolving user complaints. Complaints must be addressed within a prescribed period. Since exact timelines are dictated by evolving government rules, your internal workflows must be swift and adaptable. Fifth is the right to nominate. This allows users to appoint a representative to manage these data rights in the event of death or incapacity. If an organization's internal processes fail to honor requests, there are consequences. In this escalation flowchart, a request starts with a data fiduciary and moves to the grievance mechanism. Users must exhaust this channel first. But if that internal mechanism fails, the dispute escalates to the final terminal point, the Data Protection Board of India. The board can conduct inquiries and impose significant monetary penalties. Your internal grievance mechanism is the sole structural firewall preventing a standard user request from turning into a board-level compliance inquiry. Let's transition from legal theory to the daily reality of the support tickets your IT and compliance teams will actually face. In a right-to-information scenario, a user asks an e-commerce platform for their data footprint. You must architect a way to produce a clear, readable summary of what you hold and who you share it with, not just export a raw, unreadable database dump. For a right-to-correction scenario, a customer notices an outdated billing address. Your system needs to accept that fix and cascade it across all integrated portals instantly. In an erasure scenario, a user closes their account. This must trigger a back-end check to delete their profile, while simultaneously preserving relevant tax records to satisfy the lawful retention carve-out. For grievance redressal, a user submits a formal complaint regarding a mishandled deletion. The moment that ticket is logged, the prescribed period countdown begins. And in a nomination scenario, a verified family member triggers data extraction rights on behalf of an incapacitated user. The common thread across every single scenario is the absolute necessity for a repeatable, heavily documented back-end pipeline to receive, verify, and execute the requests. To build out that rights-handling architecture, businesses need to follow a 6-step operational playbook. Step 1 is building a centralized, highly visible rights request intake channel that captures user commands consistently. Step 2 is enforcing strict identity verification protocols. You must confirm the requester is the genuine data principal or a valid nominee before a single piece of data is touched. Step 3 is data mapping. As this diagram illustrates, a central server node must be able to identify and highlight scattered data packets housed across multiple connected third-party vendors. You cannot execute a request if you do not know where the data lives. Step 4 defines internal response workflows. Assign clear ticket owners and strict internal deadlines. Step 5 engineers a retention check into the Erasure workflow. Standard data routes to a deletion bin, while compliance data automatically diverts into a secure legal hold vault. Step 6 is implementing the final structural requirement, standing up the internal grievance redressal channel and maintaining exhaustive logs of all resolutions. Second Quadrant Consulting Solutions partners with businesses to design these exact rights handling workflows, timelines, and compliant grievance mechanisms. Subscribe for the rest of our DPDP series, where our next technical breakdown will cover the Consent Manager framework in detail. By systematizing these 6 steps, organizations can transform a daunting regulatory liability into a reliable, automated operational asset.